7th grade math lesson 3.4 is multiplying rational numbers. So we have been multiplying in the past few lessons integers. Integers are whole number counts. Rational numbers start throwing in those decimals and fractions at us. They never go away. I know you want them to, but they become easier. So be patient. So I'll just quickly remind you how to handle the calculations as in terms of the integers. If it's a same sign, the product will be a positive, like a negative times a negative will equal a positive, or a positive times a positive will equal a positive. If the multipliers have different signs, the product is negative. Negative times positive will be a negative, and a positive times a negative will also be a negative. The other things we need to refresh our memory on are how to multiply with decimals and how to multiply with fractions. So I'll be brushing off those cobwebs as we go into this lesson. So our first question is about Gina, who hiked down a canyon and stopped each time she descended 1/2 mile to rest. So she went down by 1/2 mile and then rested. She hiked a total of 4 sections. What is her overall change in elevation? And I know some of you can probably calculate that out in your head. Let's look at it in terms of math. She is descending by 1/2. Let's call that as the integer -1/2. She does that 4 times over. So 1/2 plus -1/2 plus -1/2 plus -1/2 plus -1/2. That is repeated addition, also known as multiplication. So let's go ahead and do the multiplication for that. Multiplying with fractions. Here's the review. I'll write this down. Okay, so we have the steps here. We're going to change everything to a fraction if it's not already. Cross reduce if that's possible. Multiply straight across. I do both arrows because the numerator and the denominators all get multiplied straight across. And then convert and reduce if needed. So this is already a fraction. This one I'm going to change into a fraction by putting a 1 under it. So I have -1/2 times 4 over 1 as a positive. We already know, and I tend to like to, so that I don't forget about them, I tend to like to deal with my signs before I even calculate. I have a negative multiplied by a positive. That's this over here. So whatever my answer is going to be, it's going to be a negative answer. So I'm just going to put that there so I don't have to worry about him at all. Then I'm back to these steps. Cross reduce if it's possible. Well, there's nothing other than 1 that goes into 1 and 1, and that's not going to change the number, so I won't bother there. But here, a number that goes into both 2 and 4 evenly would be 2. 2 divides into 2 once. 2 divides into 4 twice. Then I'm on the multiply straight across. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. My answer is -2 for the conversion. 2 divided by 1 is 2. As a number line, we could have written that on the number line. Let me draw the number line for us. So she starts here, or who was it? Gina. She starts here, 0, and she descends in 1/2 mile increments 4 times over. So there is once 1/2 mile increment, twice 1/2 mile increment, 3 times 1/2 mile increment, and the 4th time 1/2 mile increment lands us at -2, which is the answer we got. All right, and so remember that rational numbers include those. They're all the in-betweeners, right? So they include fractions, and they also include decimals. So we have to refresh our memory on our decimal operations as well. Multiplying with decimals, we go ahead and just multiply like normal with the same algorithm we always have. And then we go back and find out how many babies in the car, like how many decimals do I have to reach over. I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. But let's deal with the sign first. I have a negative times a negative. So these are the same sign. So whatever my answer is going to be, it's going to be a positive. So I'm just going to put that there for now so I don't have to worry about that. And now I have 3.5 times 2. I'm not worried about the signs anymore because I already know what my product is going to be a positive. So just like we always did, 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. And then how far do I have to reach across to get that little baby out of there? 1 time. And do I have to reach over here? No, 0 times. So 1 and 0 is 1 time. So I move that decimal in just 1 time. and I get 7.0, also known as just 7. The answer is a positive 7. If you want to see how that works on the number line, it's kind of weird to me, but I'll show you how it works on the number line. We are doing, just for now, we are doing 2 sets of negative 3.5. I'm going to hold that negative off to the side a little bit. It's going to be the opposite of that, but for now, 2 sets of negative 3.5. So we go a negative 1, 2, 3.5 once, and a negative 1, 2, 3.5 twice. That has me hanging out at negative 7. That was 2 sets of negative 3.5. And then I've got to deal with this guy. It is the opposite of that. So opposite of negative 7 is positive 7. But you don't generally use your number lines when we're dealing with this. Just know that sometimes that negative can make things go opposite. As long as you remember, when you're multiplying, same signs give you a positive product. Different signs give you a negative product. I had same signs here. That's how I ended up at positive 7. 2 sets of negative 3.5, but it was the opposite of the positive 2, negative 2. So it threw me off to the positive. The opposite of negative 7, positive 7. What do I do if they give me more than 2 numbers to multiply? Oh no, I just can't. I can't even. You can even. Think about that waffle that I always talk about, that you can't shove a whole waffle in your mouth and be able to eat it. You've got to take it bite at a time. So break these into bites and just focus on 2 of them at once, and we will calculate just that. All right, and I've given us the quick reminders. If I have the same sign on my integers or on my numbers, then it will be a positive result. If I have different signs, like a negative times a positive or a positive times a negative, my result, my product will be a negative. So here I am dividing, and I'm going to write it out this way. Negative 2/3 times negative 1/2. This is the first bite I'm going to take before I deal with the other one. This is a negative times a negative. So they have the same sign. Both are negative signs. So my result will be a positive. Now, I've also included the steps. Pretty soon, these really do get stuck in your head if they haven't already. But for now, use the steps. My steps for multiplying my fractions. First, change everything to a fraction. Well, that's a fraction already, and so is that. Cross reduce if you can. So I check my crosses. Is there a number that can go into both 1 and 3 evenly? Other than 1? Not other than 1, no. So that's fine the way it is. Is there a number that can go evenly into both of these cross 2s? Yeah, 2 can go into each of them. So let's take those. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 2 once. It reduces it down to easier numbers to calculate with. Anytime we can do that, it's good to do that. Multiply straight across numerators and denominators. 1 times 1 is 1. And 3 times 1 is 3. So for this part, I get a positive 1/3. Let's rewrite this now and bring this guy into the ball game. So I have a positive 1/3 and a negative 3/5. So I crossed off what I did, got an answer already, brought down what I didn't do. Check those signs. That is a positive, that is a negative. They are different signs, so whatever my answer is, it is going to be a negative answer. Change everything to fractions. They already are. Cross reduce. Is there a number that can go into both 1 and 5 evenly? No. How about into 3 and 3 evenly? Sure there is. 3 can go into both of those. 3 goes into 3 once on both of those. Multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. And 1 times 5 is 5. And we had already determined, oh, haha, you know what I did? You know what I did. And I can't erase it. I gotta scribble it. Scribble, 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 scribble. That blue sign there was my negative, not my fraction bar. Miss Sanchez, come on. 1 times 1 is 1. And 1 times 5 is 5. My answer will be negative 1/5 as my final answer. So don't let it scare you when they throw more at you than you can handle at once. Take one bite at a time, do the ones, use the steps, get the answer, and then go on to the next bite after that. So don't let those scare you. We'll practice a few together, and then you'll be able to move on. Okay, so again, remember to just take this one step at a time, one bite at a time. We'll start here with negative 3/4 times negative 4/7. Deal with the signs first, just to know what we've got. So I've got a negative times a negative, so that's the same sign. So my product will be a positive product. Now I will use my steps for multiplying a fraction. Change everything to a fraction. They are already that. That's great. Cross reduce if you can. 3 and 7, nothing but 1 will divide evenly into both of them. But the 4 and the 4 can divide evenly into both of those. 4 goes into 4 once, and 4 goes into 4 once. That keeps my numbers nice and simple. Multiply straight across. Numerators, 3 times 1 is 3. Denominators, 1 times 7 is 7. And so I get a positive 3/7 for that first bite. Cross off what you did. Bring down what you didn't do. Let's look at those signs again. I have a positive times a negative. Those are different signs, so my answer will be a negative. And I'm going to go through my steps, change everything to a fraction. They are changed. Cross reduce if I can. Nothing goes into both 2 and 7 evenly, but 3 goes into both of these 3s, so let's take care of that. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 3 once. Mix those numbers, nice and simple. Multiply straight across. 1 times 2 is 2, and 7 times 1 is 7. And so my final answer is negative 2/7. Hopefully with practice you start to feel much more confident about that. Good luck everybody, and seek me out if you need extra help.